Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 81, The Truth About Book Writing, coming to you from Singapore today. Great to be here. And, of course, my amazing co-host, Ken Kleinberg. How are you today?
Doing absolutely amazing.
Beautiful. And we have a very special guest all the way from New York here. Let me introduce you to this amazing lady. Now, her name is Irene Gabelnick. Have I pronounced that correctly?
You have.
Beautiful. She's an international best-selling author, speaker, and marketing consultant. She's the author of the podcast Power, the Zipping It Up Guide to Land Podcast and Radio Interviews Fast. Very cool. Can't wait to find out more. Welcome to the show, Irene.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You guys are so cool. I love the show, and I'm really excited to be a guest.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you here, all the way from New York, late at night for you. So thank you for making the time so late for you. Really appreciate that. So Irene, how did you get into book writing, and why is this such a hot topic for you, the truth about writing a book?
Wow. Well, that was like a loaded question. So how did I get into this? Well, my whole life, I had always wanted to write a book. I was always kind of that little bookworm geek. I love books. My sister loved books. And I can't tell you how many nights I spent under the covers with a flashlight reading my favorite book for the 12th time. And I've always done really well in English. And I always envisioned being a writer, maybe a journalist, the next Katie Couric or something like that. And I had a couple of blocks. I had a couple of blocks, including a bully teacher who actually told me I was a bad writer. Let's talk a little bit about that. People really, it's a lean-in story. So when I was in high school, I was doing really well in my English course. It was always my favorite subject. And my English teacher fell ill near the end of the school year. Straight A's the whole year. This guy comes in and announces that he's going to be filling in for the rest of the year. So I got my first paperback that he graded, and he put it on my desk, and there was a big red C circled on my paper.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it was the first C I'd gotten in English. And so I didn't know what to do. I mean, this guy controlled my grade, right? So at the end of class, I was kind of like this geeky kid, tape wrapped around my glasses because we were, we had limited means. So sometimes if they got broken, I had to wait until, Dad got paid or whatever for the glasses. So I'm like this kind of shy, geeky, skinny little kid. And I go up to him terrified, and I could just still picture him, his face with his beady little eyes. And I just said, can you please tell me why I got a C? And he said it was a bad paper. Now, there's no notes anywhere on the paper saying how to improve, what I did wrong, just a big C. One of my first lessons in power. And I said, well, can you tell me, how to improve? And he said, you're a bad writer. I still hear his voice in my mind every single day like it was yesterday. So he pretty much crushed my dreams of ever being a journalist. And I pursued business. I always wanted to own my own business, even as a kid, as an entrepreneur. I had my own babysitting business. And so I ended up getting my degrees in business. And I went into sales. I went into sales and marketing, and done that most of my career. So all the way back when I was a marketing consultant at my favorite radio station, Kiss 98.5, all the way through to my 10 years as a successful realtor after my kids were born. And then it was actually the loss of my sister that really created this shift in my life. So my sister, Natalie, we were really, really close. And she died of breast cancer when she was only 46. And when I was going through some of her things after she passed, I was like sitting on the floor. I was in her office / sewing room. And her husband invited me over, said, oh, you can take whatever you want. He cracked open a beer. I brought over a bottle of wine. We were reminiscing. And I'm going through boxes and boxes of books. And she always wrote her name in cursive inside the books. She was always like lending them out and making sure we could get them back. And what I found was not one, not two, but more than 10 books about how to write a book, how to get paid to write, how to be paid to speak. And I never even knew that Natalie wanted to write a book. And I had always wanted to write a book as well. So that night I went home, I got on the computer, and I just did a search, how to become a writer. And that was a really big pivot in my life and my career. So I started my blog, I wrote my first book, I joined AWAI, became a direct response copywriter, just total shift in my life.
Amazing. Wow. What a story. And just goes to show that don't listen to what other people say, particularly if they're teachers, because they often get it wrong. And I know Dr. John Demartini, he was told he'd never amount to anything as a kid. And, he was dyslexic and, and he, now he's written like 20 books or something. He's extraordinary. So sometimes these things can come along to spur us into action to say, I'll prove you wrong. Right.
Right.
And now I have this story, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry to hear about your sister too. That must have been really hard, and losing her at such a young age. And that can also, I know, spur people on too when they lose loved ones so young. It's like they want to make it even more value of their lives and do even more to honour the ones that we've lost. So my heart goes out to you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah.
But, I think she's still around sometimes.
Oh, she probably is.
She's probably looking over things right now.
Her as well. Yeah. But it's such a powerful story because, when somebody comes to me and they say, I've always wanted to write a book, or, oh, I wrote this book, but it's just kind of, no, I haven't told anyone about it, or I haven't worked on my book in years. I've been writing this book for 10 years. And when I share that story, among other stories I share with people, it really does help them jump into action. Because if you have a story deep inside you that you just know that you're supposed to share with the world, and you're too, afraid to write it, or you make excuses, sometimes these little stories of, wow, maybe, what if, something does happen to me, and I never get that chance to leave that legacy, that story behind for my family, or for people who need to hear it. So it's powerful.
Yes, they say everyone has a book in them, Everyone has a book in them, and not everyone gets to produce a book, of course. But now there's AI, and now people are doing books left, right, and centre, and that's a whole other topic. And I know Amazon is penalising people for AI books. They're searching for this kind of content now, as well as other sort of book publishing outlets out there are really cracking down on the AI books. So I'm curious to hear.
It was going great.
Yeah. Yes. Curious to hear your thoughts on that, Irene. Yeah. So you, as you say, thank goodness. I mean, personally, I think AI is great in some ways and absolutely horrible in other ways. And one way I think it's horrible is it's making people lazy. I think people are becoming incredibly lazy when it comes to putting content together. And, with predictive text that's been happening on Google, for example, it writes the sentences for you, and people are essentially lazy, and it's making people even more lazy. That's my opinion. And it's affecting critical thinking. What are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. And yes, AI has its purpose. It's great for a lot of things. I like using it for research, but I'm never ever happy with, and I've learned how to make it use my voice and blah blah blah, or use this person's voice, or and I'm still never ever happy with it. And I really don't think, and it's getting so much better. I mean, it really is improving, but it's still not really your voice.
No.
It doesn't have all of your experiences. It doesn't have like everything that you've gone through, and it can't be in that room, where I was, with my, sister's things going through. It doesn't know how I felt. It doesn't know what I smelled. It doesn't know, anything like that. So I don't think it will ever really replace, when it comes to writing.
No, it never will take the place of the originality and the human creativity. Yes, I admit there are definitely some very useful uses for it. Like I have, the ChatGPT. I'm still on the free version of ChatGPT, but what I have done is, so they have a feature in there where you can go in and you can have it pre-programmed and write, so you can load up everything that is about your brand in there. You can do all those things, and then kind of program it to what your language is and what your passion is. I've gotten it zeroed in to where when I'm, producing stuff, like right now I'm working on level 2 of my bootcamp series, and it's actually helping me produce some of the content for that. And I have to admit, some of it's good. I'm just like, yeah, I would say this. Absolutely, this is good. I'm tweaking a word here and there, but there are some sections where honestly, and I was talking to my coach about this last night. I was just like, is this okay? Because this is like this section right here, this is 70% AI. What the heck? And but I don't have the conscience just to produce almost all AI stuff. Like I was working on session 2 of the level 2 bootcamp today. And there's this small little paragraph that I took from what the AI said, what ChatGPT said. Got a little tongue tied there. Sorry.
We know what you meant.
I added that paragraph, but then around it, there's a story that I added myself. There's things that I expounded on myself. So I am using it, but I'm also being very careful to add in my stuff. And it's really cool, the story I shared in there today. It was cool to share it. I was actually a little bit nervous because it exposes a weak area of mine. But I think, that's something that people that are going through that level of boot camp need to hear at that particular point. So these are things that AI can't do. The AI cannot share stories. The AI cannot share your own experiences and stories. And in a lot of senses, when you're producing a course like I am, you need stories in there. stories that people then can read through and relate to what you're going through and go, ooh, okay, I don't want to make that same mistake that he did. So I'm going to do this over here. I think that's really important. Now, and I'm also writing my second book right now. And, what's interesting is about, when I was writing the first book, here's what I did with my first book. So my first book is it's a free ebook. So, I mean, if I don't usually give it out too much, but I probably should start giving out a lot more than what I do. But that was the real truth behind the obesity epidemic. And how I wrote that book is actually interesting because my founding mentor, Mike, he asked me he mentioned one day to write a book. And I looked at him like he was crazy. I was like, I don't have the time to write a book. Are you crazy? Like, where am I going to pull that time out of? And so he gave me a really neat idea, which is, it's better than using AI. I'll tell you that. So I had produced a podcast episode on this particular topic that I wrote the book about, the real truth around the obesity epidemic. Podcast episode is 45 to 50 minutes long, that particular episode. What he told me to do is upload that episode to a website called Temi. It's TEMI.com. And it was real cheap. The whole thing, my whole episode got transcribed into text. It was fairly accurate. I had to go in and make a whole bunch of edits, though. And it only cost me like $12. And so all I had to do was go in there and I added things to it and I kind of like adjusted the format and I fixed the different errors that it had. Overall, it was great. And then eventually, that's my ebook. And that was like the most brilliant way that I thought of that he thought of to do it. He's the one that suggested that. He's like, go do this. This is how you get your first book out there. Now I'm actually writing a second book. And the second book is very, very, very intense and in depth. And I'm actually I'm actually following in the footsteps of a mentor that both my coach and I have. Irene Gabelnick, and what he did is his 5-day challenge, which is powerful, by the way. So everything that he produced in his 5-day challenge is his book, one of his books. And so my boot camp, the first level, is going to be my second book. I already have all the content produced, and it's all me. So that's actually going to be my second book. And so that's kind of how it's working with me. So anyhow, anybody, all that to say, sorry, long way to say anybody can write a book. And, I almost want to smack your professor right, like, for
he wasn't a professor. He was a substitute teacher. He was an unemployed guy.
Okay, well, even worse. All right, so that says volumes right there. If I can write a book
in the morning,
right? If I can write a book and get creative about it, I mean, technically, I didn't sit there for hours, typing it out, but that is my content that I put out. So my first ebook, that is my content. I just kind of did a little bit of a shortcut, and that's cool. My second book that I'm coming out with, which I'm actually going to publish, that's going to be a real book. It's going to be physical. It's going to have all the things. But this second book, it's going to be my stuff. It's everything that I created in this first level of my boot camp. And so anybody can write a book. Anybody. You don't have to have like some kind of special talent to write a book. And so, Irene, I just want to say good on you. Good on you for finally coming to that point where you bursted through the doubt that was placed in your head and you finally created your book.
Yeah, you're so spot on. And that's one of the topics that I frequently share is how to write a book in a weekend. And even Dean Graziosi, who's Tony Robbins' partner in mastermind.com, And they have an AI called Gigi that I like to play around with too in Mastermind. But he wrote his first book, all audio. Rev.com is another one that's very, very popular, very affordable. You don't even have to write. You can speak your entire book and do it really, really quickly. And talk about the truth about writing a book. People think, oh my gosh, it's going to take so much of my time. Oh, it's so hard. All these things. And the truth is absolutely what you said. Anyone can write a book. And there are so many different easy ways to do it, as long as you just have a little bit of guidance, and it really is not that complicated. I mean, especially if you follow kind of a system, which I did, which I created in my 10 Easy Steps to Start Writing a Book Today. It's the system I use when I write a new book. And it's not that complicated. But there's so many wonderful things that you shared, Ken, that I could talk about all day.
Yeah, here's the other thing, guys. Check it out. So you can do exactly what I did with my first book. So I don't know, get on YouTube. Do a 45-minute video on a topic that you are passionate about and you can go all day about. Get on your
interview someone.
Yeah, get on your bandwagon and just go off. And then take that, upload it to something that can transcribe it for you, and then bring it down into a Word document, and then do the edits, do the formats, add the chapters, how you want it broke up. There you go. There's your book.
It doesn't have to be, people think it has to be a novel, or it has to be an 8-hour audio book, and it doesn't. And speaking of that, to self-publish on Amazon, it only needs to be 25 pages. 25 pages. That's it. I love powerful short books. My first book was only 41 pages, but you know what? It solves a problem. The only thing is you do have to have 100 pages if you want the title on the spine. So that's the one thing. So if you want that, then it has to be at least 100 pages, which is not that hard to do.
Right.
And the reason I finally overcame those myths and those fears was one of my favorite books is a 40-page book, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And this is still a top-selling book in its niche. I mean, and he wrote this in 1892 or something. I don't know. I don't remember. It's over 100 years ago. And that was really one of the powerful things. I said, okay, you know what? It doesn't have to be, my best book or my big book or my New York Times best-selling book. Chances are your first book isn't going to be your New York Times best-selling book. Marie Forleo's wasn't. Her first book wasn't her big book. It was years later that she became a New York Times best-selling author. So
yes.
First one out of the way.
Yes, it takes.
We've been taking all the time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just about to speak, actually, Ken. Thank you so much. All right. So, look, it takes a lifetime to be an overnight success. And in fact, Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad 3 years before he was on Oprah. And when he was on Oprah in the year 2000, it was the 27th of April, 2000. He was on Oprah. And at the end of the 1-hour show, Oprah turned to him and said, congratulations, Rich Dad, we've just sold you 1 million books. 3 years after he wrote that book. And then, of course, now there's the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad series and all sorts of other products and other books that have rolled on from that. So I think also patience is really important when it comes to writing a book and also to marketing a book. You could have the best book out there, but if you don't market it correctly, then no one's going to know about it. And, I believe there's more authors that are sitting with bundles of books in their garage than there are actually out there that have well-known books. And I think now, particularly with the AI world and everyone thinking they're an author with AI content, robot content out there, I think this is going to be really interesting to see who gets the cut through with their books. Just do a little search actually on Amazon about what's going on there. And they've actually put a cap on the number of self-published books now allowed on Amazon to curb the rise of AI-generated titles. Kindle Direct Publishing has actually set a limit of 3 titles, and they may adjust that as well. And authors also now are required to disclose if their content is AI generated. However, how many people are going to be honest about that really? Are they going to be honest that their content is AI generated, and how much AI generated content would be acceptable in today's day and age? I guess this is all sort of, moral considerations, and people need to, I guess, sit with, does it fit right for you? Are you aligned with the content you're putting out there? If it is 90% AI generated content, are you going to be happy to promote that book and say, hey, this is my book, when most of it's AI and you didn't actually write it at all and you just popped it in ChatGPT or whatever? So I think this is something that I believe if I was to write a complete book, and I'm in about 20 compilation books, okay, and I love the exponential networking power of being in compilation books. But when you have your own book, of course, it's really great for your own personal branding as well. So being in so many compilation books has been great, because I've just done a chapter in each of them, and people put their best chapter in each book, and everyone's promoting it out to their own people. Now, I must say, if I was to do my own book, which I am planning to do my own full book, now, if and when I do that book, for me, it has to sit right and be aligned with me to be able to promote it. And if you've done most of it as AI generated content, I personally would not feel aligned or comfortable to promote that as my book. That's personally how I feel about that.
Oh, I agree. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so even if you're not honest with Amazon and you say it's not AI generated content, it's AI generated content, and you've got to live with the fact that you know the truth. You know the truth. You might be lying about it to other people, but you've got to live with the fact that you've now lied to others about something, and that's really bad karma, basically, right? So, and lying can be a really stressful thing. I did a whole expose about lying in one of my Global Good News Challenges, where every day for 9 days last September, I wrote about lying and the different types of lies by omission, white lies. How many times do people lie about things and justify why they've lied about it, or think that it's actually not a full lie because they've half lied about it, right? And this is something to just get conscious to. And I want to invite people joining us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're joining us from right now. Let us know, what are your thoughts around AI generated content to do books? We've got Gay and Carol here. Dee Lewis have joined us on Instagram. Guarded Body, good to see you. Will the Wizard. Guarded Body says, those of us who cannot teach, are they really the ones to whom we should listen to, he says, as in the teachers? Take a lead from the classics and go your own way. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that, Guarded Body. Brad Oz has joined us. Brad and I were co-hosts on Tech Webcast, which had over 1 million downloads in 8 years. Good to see you, Brad. I haven't seen you for ages. Prasad Adelaide has joined us. Anna Cromlin has joined us. Hello, hello. So what are your thoughts? Those joining us on social media platforms right now, let us know, what do you think of AI-generated content for book writing? And I love, Irene, how you said that you can do a book with just 40 pages or do a really powerful, shorter book. Now, I know people are using platforms also like Otter, or they're doing audios like Ken did with his podcast, getting it transcribed, and there's Google Translate and all sorts of Google tools as well to transcribe content. So I think anything you can do like that, I think is good to speed up the process, because the number one block, I would say, for most people, as Ken said, is having the time or making the time to do a book. So Irene, I'm really curious, with your book, what was the process that you went through?
Well, I wrote my first book before AI was all the rage, but you have to do the research. And I at the time had a little health and fitness blog, and I've always been very passionate about health and fitness, walk the walk, talk the talk. So my process was, I took a problem that a lot of people have, and I had a solution that I know works, because it's something that I do every time I want to lose 5 pounds fast. Or here's the thing. I was going to this conference in October in Florida. Well, I'm in Buffalo, New York, so it's cold up here. Winters are cold. Once fall hits, we got big sweaters. You're craving meat and potatoes. We're not eating salads and drinking Pinot Grigio. We're drinking red wine and hot cocoa by the fire, after we ski, whatever. And I put on a few pounds, and I had a little bit of a tummy. I hadn't been in a bikini in over a month. And I was going to Florida, and I wanted to go to the beach and rock my bikini by the pool and feel good about myself, So I followed this system and just got really, dropped a few pounds, got toned, put the bikini up. And I literally just wrote everything I did to rock that bikini bod. Now, obviously, this isn't going to work for someone who wants to lose 100 pounds or something like that. But my first book, it's called Zipping It Up, How to Lose 5 Pounds Fast and Look Great in That Little Black Dress. So whether you're getting ready for a wedding or a hot date night or a vacation, it's just my system to help you, get fit fast and just feel really confident and good about yourself. And so I took a problem that I knew a lot of people had. I did a lot of research. There are lots of ways to do research. I teach this in my 10 Easy Steps free download as well. And I looked to see what else was out there. I looked for my own unique selling proposition. And I just followed these steps. I set a deadline for myself, hired a graphic designer to do the cover. So, I'm not going to give it all away. If you want to get my whole 10-step system, it's free, 100% free. But yeah, so that's my first book. It's called Zipping It Up, How to Lose 5 Pounds Fast, Look Great in That Little Black Dress. And I was just so proud of it. And I think the biggest thing for me was that I set a deadline. It was 2017, and I remember the kids and I were on vacation in Maine, and I said, I'm gonna write my book while we're on vacation. We were eating lobster, going to the beach, going to putt-putt. I didn't even I started doing research, but I didn't write a thing. And it was their Christmas break, it was their holiday break in December. And I don't know what I came across, but something reminded me that I had said in 2017, I'm going to be a published author. So I literally wrote, published, and sold my very first copy of my book in 2 weeks. Got it in just under the wire on December 30th, 2017. My daughter bought the first copy. And I did it in only 2 weeks. Now, I'd been researching for 6 months how to write a book and this and that, but from the time I sat down and started writing it and using my 10-step system, I think it was probably a week to write it, format it, do all of that, and then publish it, get it approved on Amazon. It only took 2 weeks. So yeah, that was my first one. I've written over a dozen now. Some I sell exclusively on my website. Some are free lead magnets like Ken used. And I do write under different pseudonyms. I wrote 2 real estate books. And so, you don't want to confuse your audience. And you can actually publish on Amazon with up to 7 different pseudonyms too. So little tidbit
for you. Up to 7 different what?
Pseudonyms.
What's that?
So when you write under a different name. Yeah, so you can
kind of like a screen name, kind of like
J.K. Rowling is, J.K. Rowling is a pseudonym, or Stephen King, that's not his real name, So you can actually write under 7 different names for one author's account.
I could write under Fat Fighter Ken.
You can, absolutely. So did I answer your question?
Yes. Well, I asked about the process, and you said you set deadlines. So how much time did you actually put into doing the book over those 2 weeks?
A lot. I did a lot of time. I remember asking the kids' dad if he could take them a little bit more. And, we could have gone to the mall. We could have gone cross-country skiing more or baked cookies. But I made a decision, and my kids were so supportive. They were so understanding and so proud of me and excited about the process. So I really did, buckle down. And it was a very slow time in real estate as well. So, over the holidays when people are celebrating with their families, not a lot of, things happening. So it was a good time work-wise for me to buckle down and get it done.
So when you say a lot, did you have a disciplined routine where you said, right, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to work on the book, or what? How did you structure that to it?
Actually, I used some other cool techniques that I'd like to share. So one of the first things I did when I decided I'm going to become a writer was they said, create a space where you like to write. I created this area. I bought a new desk. I bought a new chair. I set it up. I put a calendar. I kind of decorated it a little bit. And this was like my writing space. And as it turns out, it wasn't the most comfortable place for me to write. But it made me feel like a writer because I had my stuff there and it just looked so good. And I ended up writing at the kitchen table most of the time. But there are little things that you can do. And I actually learned this one from Laura Belgray, who's one of my favorite email copywriters. She's absolutely amazing. And when she wrote her book, what she would do is she'd like go to, I don't know if it was Starbucks or her favorite coffee shop and get her favorite drink. And so I think I would make my tea and I would set up my space, maybe light a candle. So something that's going to trigger, okay, it's time to write. Get your favorite drink, whether it's a green tea or whatever that is, and set up your space, and then just kind of get into that zone. And I think I like that. And some people do, but I think it was more because the kids were on break. It wasn't as easy versus, my normal work schedule. We had a routine. We'd get up, take them to school, come home, go for my run, this, that. Okay, now it's time to write, right? Email my list, do this, work on that, post on social media, all of those things, and then take time out to write. But one really, really easy thing to do is if you could even just commit to 1 hour a day, which is really not that much, or even if it's just 10 minutes, because 10 minutes can turn into 20 minutes to 30 minutes, 40 minutes. If you get into flow, and just going and say, okay, everyone can take 10 minutes out of the day. And I teach this too with weight loss or exercise, right? Because if you exercise 10 minutes 3 times a day, it's equivalent to 30 minutes of exercise. It doesn't have to be all at once. If it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to go to the gym, go for a 10-minute walk. And you would be surprised how that walk will be so enjoyable that it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it's not that hard to squeeze in that exercise. It's all mindset. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, I love that. So like an atomic habit, like that book Atomic Habits, where you sandwich a habit onto another. Yeah, it's a great idea to do that. I love that. And having a space for it. I think discipline is really, really important, because how many people start things and don't finish them? And I know I've certainly done that in the past, and it's something that I have to be very careful of, particularly with some ADHD tendencies, as Ken also has. It's very easy to get distracted and, have some great ideas and then not always follow through with it. So I think that's something particularly for the ADHD ones out there, which is a superpower, by the way. It is a superpower when it's channeled correctly.
That's entrepreneur. They just put this label on it. It just means we're entrepreneurs, coming up with ideas all the time. You just write it down, put it on shelf. Write it down, on shelf.
Well, see, the problem with writing it down is then you get me, where my desk sometimes gets into be a big giant sticky note mess. And so, and then you should see my wall over here. There's all kinds of sticky notes everywhere. I'm always writing something down. Oh yeah, I need to remember to do that. So I'll write it down and I'll put it over here. And then, oh yeah, that, write it up and put it over here. And then one day I'll sit at my desk and I'll be like, what is all this? And what's it, and so now I have to go through it. Okay. And throw out ones that I've already done. But yeah, I mean, it does work, but sometimes even just writing it down gets a little overwhelming sometimes.
On the topic of Post-it notes, though, Ken, I have heard of people putting chapters together for books with Post-it notes. So, Irene, what are your thoughts around that and around actually structuring the content? How many chapters would you recommend? How would you nut out the actual format of the book?
Oh my God, who doesn't love Post-it notes? It's like the invention since sliced bread. I mean, come on, I love Post-its. So one of the things I teach in my 10 Easy Steps, it's called to do a brain dump. Now, and the person I learned this from, who owns an eight-figure publishing company now calls it a mind map. It's the same thing. Mind map just sounds a little sexier, and brain dump sounds, but it's the exact same thing. So instead of having a pretty, structured mappy thing, it's the same thing. Just jot down all of your ideas. And this is exactly what I do. I jot down all my ideas for the book, and then I just put them into categories. This one would all go under, fitness. This all goes under eating. This all goes under healthy eating habits. And then that's how you form your chapters. And then, of course, you do the research. You look for search engine optimization to, help you come up with the right title, to help you come up with the right chapter titles. It's all about doing the research. And it's just not that difficult. There isn't anything out there that hasn't already been done before, guys. I'm like, seriously, right?
Right.
So do the research, find your own unique selling proposition. And if you can find, and there are ways to do this that I teach inside my 10 Easy Steps, but if you can find a problem within that niche, within that area that nobody else is solving, you've got gold.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it. And it literally worked for my friend Sherry when I helped her write her first book. So she is the dog mystic, and her book is called Happy Dogs Equals Happy Homes. And she kept asking me, I'm like, Sherry, you can't skip this step. Go do the research. Do it now. She followed my lead. She did the research, and she's like, well, no one else out there is teaching dog training without treats. And I teach treatless training. And I said, well, why is that better? Oh my God, because, and she went off. I'm like, that's your book. That's it. That is your unique selling proposition, is that no one else is doing this. Now there are, since she published the book, of course, because, but you have to find your own unique spin on what you're teaching.
Yeah, great tip there. And I'm really curious, how did you go from weight loss to podcast power? What made you go through that transition?
That's a sticky topic, and I actually shared this on the law enforcement podcast and the safety podcast with Pete Calvin too. Anyway, I was not comfortable on social media. If you're selling weight loss and health and fitness, you gotta show that and I didn't feel comfortable putting skimpy clothes on social media. And I had a very weird stalker situation.
Why not?
Well, it's scary. They're crazy, creepy stalkers.
I was kidding. I was being sarcastic.
Although you can make a lot of money on OnlyFans. But anyway, back to you, Irene.
And so anyway, and then I was at this mastermind in LA, and I don't know, I was in this room with all these like fitness experts with brick and mortar gyms and 7-8 figure business owners. And I'm like, what am I doing in this space? And more people were interested. When I would tell people I wrote a book, more people were interested in how to write a book than they were in my weight loss book. And so people kept saying, how did you do it? I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And I said, well, I can help you. And so I just started helping people write books. I started doing some little workshops, little courses and things like that, and created the free guide, and just kind of did a total shift.
That's so cool.
And then podcast, how did you go from weight loss to podcast though?
Well, Well, the podcasts and the books all went hand in hand. So I was promoting my first book, and this is before podcasts, before everyone had a podcast. I was going on radio shows, TV, podcasts. I was promoting my first book, and then promoting my lead mag, and promoting my next book, and things like that. And I was really good at it. And I was at that same mastermind in LA that I told you about, my freedom mastermind. I flew out to LA, and what we went around the room and everyone shared a superpower, something they were really good at that someone else in the room might be interested in learning. And at the time, I was going on, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 5, sometimes 7, like shows a week. And there were a handful of people. Yeah, I know it was a lot, and it was fun. I was like enjoying it. I'm like, and radio shows, and it was a lot of fun. And so there were a handful of people in the room who said, I need to learn how to do that. So it all started out with an email, and I sent them my system, including the template that I used. What to say, what to write in the subject line, where to find podcast shows. We didn't have these Facebook groups back then. It was a little bit harder. You had to do a little more digging, a little more searching, things like that. And so I taught them how to do it. And the response was tremendous. Like, oh my God, this is great. Thank you so much. And then it wasn't until COVID hit, and we were all going through something, right? I mean, it was challenging, and I was going through a lot of stuff on top of, unrelated to COVID. And I thought, what do I have that people could really use right now that I could do quickly? And it started from that email, and then I added all the right elements, the information, my personal story, the benefits of going on podcasts, all of that stuff. And I just put together this 17-page ebook that solves one problem: how to get featured in the media. I just started giving it away. And like you, I've been featured in 3 book collaborations. That's how I became a 2 times international best-selling author. We hit #1 in the US, England, UK, and India. And then the second one, Canada, US, and India. And, wow. And then I was invited to be a guest author in Seth Green's 9th best-selling book. You don't know who he is. He's the co-host of the Shark Tank podcast with Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank. He also wrote the foreword for my book, Podcast Power. He loved it so much.
Wow.
Yeah, so like all these things just, snowball into all these wonderful things. And my friends, I was giving it away. They were telling me, oh my God, Irene, I just got booked on 3 podcasts. I just got a new client. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, it was time to start selling it. So I wrote a sales page. I'm a verified direct response copywriter. And yeah, now it's a little $47 ebook that, brings a nice little, change in, a little, nice little side income. And it's getting people results. Like that's what I love about it, is that people come back to me still to this day, several years after I wrote it. And one of my clients, Don Thornton, he sells trusts. He was so excited. He's like, Irene, you're a genius. He was so happy. He's like, I sold 3 trusts. I got booked on 3 shows in 10 days. Made $7,500. He said, all from such a small investment. And within 6 months from starting to go on the media and leveraging those on his social media channels, he literally built his business to $100,000 a month. He built a 7-figure business, brand new business in less than. Wow. It was the power of media. But then he went big. And once he got on those few podcasts, he got on Forbes. He got on he, really, really took it all the way. So
amazing.
Now, I haven't done a lot of research as far as how to do an SEO title with my second book. I'm just simply titling my second book what the title of my boot camp is. Because I think that's catchy enough. And so the title of my boot camp is Breaking Free from the Industry Lies and Diets for Lasting Change. But yeah, that's just amazing how to hear your journey and how it just blossomed into what it is now. That's absolutely incredible. How you went from, what's the title of the first book that you wrote? Zip It Up?
Zipping It Up.
Zipping It Up. All right, I was close.
Yeah.
Zipping It Up. You went from that to then producing content on how to write a book, and then boom, and now you're helping so many other people, podcasts, books, and different things like that. That is quite an amazing journey that you've been on.
Oh, thank you. And I love your idea for a title, but don't forget, there's your title and then there's your subtitle.
Interesting. How does a subtitle work?
And if you ask Jack Canfield, he would say, 600 million copies sold. You want to listen, just like Robert Kiyosaki. And I can share stories about Robert Kiyosaki. I love that share, Aldwyn, because I know a lot about him and his journey with that book. A lot of secrets. But so an actual title should be 4 words or less. Some will say 3 words or less. And if you could come up with a 1-word title, boom.
Ooh.
But then you have your subtitle, which describes it more. So Zipping It Up is 3 words. And then the subtitle, How to Lose 5 Pounds Fast and Look Great in That Little Black Dress. So if you could just take the most powerful 1 to 4 words out of that for your title, and then you have your subtitle. So now, and this is the power. This is how it is.
Like maybe something like Break Free from Diets.
It could even be Break Free. You know?
But isn't that way too broad?
No, because then you have your subtitle. Yeah, but Break Free from Diets is good too. And this is just, and it's not, the rule, because there are great books that are longer titles, like, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right?
Right.
So, but if you can figure out a way to, make it, like Atomic Habits.
So, okay, so you've got the title, 2 to 3 words. I think I could probably make that work. And then the subtitle doesn't have to be 2 to 3 words. It can be a little bit more descriptive. The subtitle, so I could do the title as Break Free from Diets. So that's 4 words. Break Free from Diets. Yeah, that's 4 words. And then so that's the title, and then the subtitle can be what my bootcamp title is.
Exactly. So you've got your title, and then you have your subtitle. So
as an example, I've got a book in the wings called Good News Sells is the main title, and the subtitle is How to Gain Over $1 million Worth of Free Positive Publicity. Right? So something, I'm very passionate about getting more positive news out there, right? So also playing with some destructive terms, like a lot of people say bad news sells. So saying good news sells is actually turning that on its head, right? And looking at how positivity can attract people to what you do rather than being so negative and repelling people with the negative news, right? So something like that could be a good title too. But the other thing to realize is, look, there's lots of people that teach about health or teach about media or podcasts or weight loss or whatever. And it doesn't matter. Like, there's an abundance of work for everyone out there. Now my background is traditional media, right? 20 years in the media. And so I've been teaching people how to get free publicity for a long time, and also doing social media and online marketing, right? And the world of mass media has changed so drastically that what was relevant back in 2017, 2018 is not as relevant today when it comes to media marketing. So we've got to be, or when it comes to weight loss, or like people think, oh yeah, eat less, exercise more. That's the foundation of weight loss. But there's a lot more to it than that. Now we're dealing with genetically modified foods and all that kind of thing, right? So we have to be able to adjust to the times. The thing to get is that no one else is you, right? And people are going to want to work with you because they like you. It doesn't matter about the topics. It doesn't matter, Irene, you're teaching people about podcasts. I teach people about podcasts. It doesn't matter. There's some people will be drawn to you. Some people are drawn to work with me. It doesn't matter. There's an abundance out there, right? And sometimes we can get too hung up in the detail or too busy comparing ourselves to others rather than staying on our path and doing the best we can to be of service to those around us with what we do. I think this is really important, to stay in your lane and not worry about what other people are doing. Focus on what you're doing. I mean, sure, they say, do competitor research. I mean, I actually hate that word competition. I look at abundance. There's collaboration is a much better word than competition. However, some people in, high up in business, I know some multimillionaires, billionaires that are like, it's all competition. It's all like a fight. It's a race, and I don't agree with that. Right? Okay. And, I don't care how many billions you have, like for me, I celebrate people who are doing great. I think fantastic. Good on you. Good on you. You're helping people with whatever you're doing and wherever your journey has taken you. It's fantastic, Irene. You've got the $47 ebook that's making such a huge impact. And I know, Ken, with your boot camp, extraordinary, having such a big impact with your boot camp as well, which I've been enjoying myself. And I look at everything. I'll tell you what, I'm not buying as much from the supermarket than doing your boot camp, Ken, because I turn everything over. I turn everything over and look at the ingredients and I go, oh my gosh, this has just been promoted as a healthy product and there's all this crap in it. It blows my mind as to how much crap is in the supermarket. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. Now we do have Deb here says, hi Ken, hi Aldwyn, hello Deb, good to see you. Okay, so Bond Halbert here on Facebook says subtitle is your USP, unique selling proposition. Yes, your USP is your subtitle. Yeah, look, it's great to really, toss up a good snappy title and subtitle, and often we tend to overcomplicate things and overthink things. So I think keep things as simple as possible when it comes to your titles and your subtitles. And also we have on...
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Hi, Bond. Sure. Do you know who Bond Halbert is?
No.
Bond Halbert is the son of the legendary late, great Gary Halbert, reputed to be the best direct response marketer of all time. Bond is a wizard at marketing and copywriting. He's absolutely amazing. So I'm so honored that you're here. And I actually had the privilege to interview Bond a couple of years ago. And it was, oh my God, I wrote 5 pages of notes. It blew me away. I'm still, every day I think, why haven't I joined Halbertizing yet? But anyway.
Well, Bond, if you are still actually watching our show live right now, you definitely can, if you're interested, reach out to either Aldwyn or me. We would love the opportunity and pleasure to interview you and roll out the red carpet and have you on the show. So just thought I would put that out there.
Yes, he says.
I'll make a connection on Messenger with Ken, and we'll set that up. Thanks for watching. It's so nice to see you, Bond.
Thank you, Bond. Thank you for joining us. He said, sure. There we go. Excellent. This is live networking in action. This is how it's done. And this is how you get on people's podcasts and shows, is you interact with them on the show. In fact, we've interviewed quite a few people, or there's one little tip for you. We've interviewed quite a few people on our show who've actually been great interactors live on our shows, and we reach out to them and go, hey, this person looks cool. And it's a beautiful thing. The more you lean in, my friends, the more you will get out with anything. The more you lean in, the more you'll get out. We do have here also on Instagram, we have Maharshi Raval. Good to see you. We've got Christism7 has joined us. Ageless Body Formula. Linda, good to see you. Francesca Moya's with us. Good to see you guys on Instagram. Sending you all much love today from Singapore. And we do need to wrap up the show shortly. So any final words, Irene, on this topic, the truth about book writing?
It was such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. So many wonderful tips. I loved Bond's share too, how your subtitle is your USP. Yes. I want to share a little story about, it's just incredible. So the best-selling book, Eat, Pray, Love, okay, which was turned into a, blockbuster hit movie starring Julia Roberts. And I love Elizabeth Gilbert. Her other book, Big Magic, is wonderful too for creatives. Very inspiring. Always makes me write when I listen to it. I have it on audio. And on Audible. And when that book first came out, the subtitle was not as good as it is now. And it was not selling. And I mean, she had a big publishing deal, and they changed the subtitle explaining her journey from, Italy to India to Bali or whatever it was, right? And just changing the subtitle, it made a huge change. People then understood what it was about. And so he's so right. It really is your unique selling proposition. So you really, really want to put a lot of thought into that as well. And it's all about testing. We all know it's about testing. We don't know what's going to work until you test the market. So obviously you want to do the testing.
Now, first book, when I put out my first book, I just threw together a title and everything because I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. My coach had challenged me to do it, so I finally did it. And I mean, I didn't even think of searching for an SEO title or anything. I just popped the title on there and just went boom. There we go. But obviously learned a lot since then. So yeah.
You're pretty good though. You're pretty good at coming up with some good stuff. Both of you, obviously. But I really want to just do it. And this has helped a lot of people. When I tell people, your first book doesn't have to be your best book ever. It doesn't have to be your New York Times best-selling book. It doesn't even have to impact millions, guys. If that book helps one person, just one person, isn't it worth writing?
Yes, it is.
And then once you get the first one, the second, it just gets easier, once you kind of get into a flow.
And it's true. My second one's coming together easier than my first one. And I've actually found that as I've curated a certain sort of an atmosphere around it, when I get into that flow, I enjoy it. I enjoy writing it. And the time goes like this. All of a sudden, hour and a half, 2 hours has gone by. And it's time for me to climb into bed. And I'm going, oh my gosh, where did the time go? I wish I actually had more time to write this,
Don't forget to eat. I do. I get into flow, and when I first started writing, I got so thin. My kids were kind of nervous. I would forget to eat.
And with my first book I wrote, I don't promote it as much. I think mainly because I'm a little self-conscious about it now, mainly because I've gone back and I've read through it. And I mean, because I wrote that book almost 3 years ago, and I go back and I read through it and I'm like, this is so surface level compared to where I'm at now. Oh my gosh, how can this even help? That's one of the reasons why I don't promote it as much, because I think it's just because my knowledge has so expanded and the depthness of how I talk and what I go into has expanded so much. That first book I wrote, it just seems so elementary to me now. But I know that there's people out there that still need to hear that level of that message. I should probably promote the first book more than what I do.
Yeah, and I recommend also for all of us to notice the conversations going on in your head. Notice how critical we can be of ourselves and our titles and our subtitles and our chapters. And I think with a book, having done a lot of editing in my time as a journalist, you can edit and go back over it and find extra things. And I'm a bit of a comma Nazi, so I hate saying commas before ands. It's a very common thing, and it drives me friggin' crazy. Commas before ands. The only time you do that is when you can take that chunk out of the sentence, right? But people put commas before ands all the time. Anyway, that really annoys the hell out of me. But see, this is the thing. Notice when you get stopped. And are you just procrastinating, or are you just sort of deliberating and making things harder for yourself than they need to be?
Making excuses. I know we all make excuses. But the thing is, if you really want to write a book and you haven't written it yet, you really don't want to write that book. I mean, you have to commit, I mean, and I forget this exact statistic. I'm getting tired. Sorry, guys. But 90% out of the 90% of people who say they want to write a book, only 1% actually does it. Which is really surprising, especially with AI and now and all the books being published, self-publishing. there's still a majority of people who say they want to write a book, never do. So if you have written a book, kudos, seriously, kudos to you. And once you're an author, people really do look at you differently. They're like, oh, wow, you're an author. It's, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of that halo effect. Same with getting in the media. Oh my gosh, I was interviewed as the expert on this show or this podcast or on television. And, it really, really does make a difference. And writing a book is one of the fastest and easiest ways. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alden, but to get into the media. They love authors. They love new books. And, I have a client and I'm praying that he's working on his book right now because I've been trying to get him to write a book. And, I tell him that you're missing opportunities where people are like, are you an author? I mean, seriously. I mean, look at Tony Robbins comes out with a new book every couple of years. Russell Brunson comes out with a new book. I mean, there's a reason why, Dan Kennedy, how many books has he written? There's a reason why they keep putting them out is because it's another opportunity to get that big media draw. And it just makes it so much easier to get your foot in the door.
Yes, they go hand in hand. Media feed off media. When you're an author, you look like an authority, and the word author comes from authority, right? So there's lots of bonuses to having your own book out, and of course, being in chapter books. There's so many opportunities for compilation books. Actually, I had someone reach out to me the other day. They said, "I want to do a chapter in some compilation books. Can you connect me?" And I sent her 5 different places where she can connect with people who are doing compilation books. Obviously, I've been in 20 myself. I know lots of people. I've got 2 chapters to write actually this week for 2 compilation books as well. So I'm constantly getting into compilation books because I love the power of it. However, when it comes to being interviewed on the media, I must say I've never been interviewed on the media specifically for a compilation book, right? You have your own book, then that's a different story. You now look like an authority with your own book, and that's the next step for me now, is to make the time to do that. And you've really inspired me today, Irene, to actually make that time, because we can always just, make excuses for, why it hasn't happened, or, too busy. The busy thing is a big one, right? The busyness, the time factor. But if you don't make the time now, well, when are you going to make the time? And so it's actually just chunking that time out in your calendar, make sure it happens and make the space for it. And I'm sure it will pay off in spades afterwards, because when you do a book also, you're leveraging your knowledge. It gives you a product you can sell at your speaking gigs. And I must say, just about every time I've done a speaking gig where I've had books for sale, I have sold books. And it's fantastic. It's just like ka-ching, 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 selling books when you're doing a speaking gig, right? Not that a lot of people use books for that. A lot of people give their books for free, and I've given many books for free as well. You can give it as raffle prizes. There's so much you can do with your books as well, which is really, really powerful. And I just want to say a word of warning for those who are going with a publisher who is going to be doing your book, and they're actually printing the book and you're buying the book off them. Just be careful with the copyright. Just make sure that you have copyright, that you can reprint the books yourself, because sometimes people just sort of give away all their power by going through a publisher. And I think there's a lot of things you've got to be careful of, and be very careful who you align with when it comes to this, because I've come across a few sharks in my time that haven't honoured the original agreement and that have changed things halfway along the line. And, you just have to be very, very careful who you deal with, and make sure you look into things very carefully before you commit with someone. What are your thoughts on that, Irene?
Absolutely. Yes. Do your due diligence. Make sure you know who you're working with. There's so many self-publishing companies out there that charge a lot of money. And even if you get that big publishing deal, that 5 or 6 figure advance, and you still have to market the book. They'll help you, but you still have to market the book, whether you self-publish or not. And it's free to self-publish on Amazon. So just again, but it's time versus money. If you want to pay someone to do it for you, just make sure you do your due diligence and make sure that you're actually getting what you promised, and they have good referrals and things like that. Excellent tip.
Yes, a lot of people have been so burnt with books that they've paid 20 grand, 30 grand to people, and then they haven't delivered on what they've promised, and they've been very, very upset, and then they don't know who to trust. And so I have a lot of people, those people coming to me saying, who do you know that I can trust, Aldwyn? Because they know I've worked with so many of them out there, and I just give them the ones that I can trust. And so this lady the other day, I just gave her 5 connections. I believe she's going in quite a few of those books now. So she does want to do her own full book. However, she just wants to start with the chapter just to ease into it, which I think is a great idea as well. And, of course, brilliant marketing. You can't beat the marketing of a book.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great way. A lot of people get started that way, writing a chapter. And I had, taken a little break from a little hiatus from media, a little hiatus from social media. And even that, being in those book compilations, I call them collaborations, compilations, same thing. It helped me write more books again. It got me back into the flow, but now I really have to publish them. But, there are pros and cons to working with a publisher and self-publishing. They're both great. And I do share some of those pros and cons in my 10 easy steps to start writing a book today as well.
Beautiful. And do you have your own podcast or show as well, Irene?
I don't right now. There is one out there called The Power of Writing, where I was sharing little tips. I would just talk. I didn't do interviews. Every Wednesday I put out a new episode, shared, and things like that. I've had a few, and I was doing podcasts before they were all the rage, and it really is a big time commitment. And the next one that I'm going to start, because I have kind of shifted a little bit, I'm really going to pick something that I'm so passionate about that I'm going to, really stick with it for at least a couple of years. And I just, not quite ready to do that yet, but I've got some ideas, some of my books that are coming out that are completely unrelated to any of this that I'm doing now. But, I think you just kind of flow with your path, and the universe opens up and doors open up, and your heart kind of just, tells you where to go.
Pretty much.
I agree. And look, for those who don't know, in 2018 there were 500,000 podcasts worldwide. Now we have over 5 million podcasts, and most people don't do more than 3 episodes, and even less do more than 10 episodes. So it's a very common thing too, Irene, where people start things and they just don't finish it, or they just want to get quick returns. And podcast is a long-term game, right? Online media generally is a longer-term game. So you have to be patient.
There's so many different kinds of podcasts. And my first one was called Zipping It Up. It was a weight loss podcast, and I wasn't doing that anymore. So I killed it off. And then, I remember the one in between. But there's still episodes out there. But I haven't done a new one in a while. And I'm just not going to revisit that. I'm definitely going to do something else. I had a really interesting, super cool podcast interview. It just got released yesterday, I think, too. I'm still starting to promote it. And it's called the Soul Inspired Podcast. And he mostly interviews people who've had near-death experiences.
Wow.
And I just so happened to have a near-death experience with it when I was 9. And it was an interesting, wonderful conversation, sharing that experience and how it all led me to where I am today, even. And Joe told me after the interview that, he talked about it, and he's a musician and he teaches music. It has nothing to do with what he does with his profession, but he's just so passionate about the topic that it just lights him up, excites him. And he said, make sure you pick something that you're just so passionate about it that you'll just never, ever, ever get bored. So,
I love that. And one of the reasons why I love that is because that's me. You get me on one of my topics and I could be a fire hose. As a matter of fact, my coach, Francine, she's had to help me kind of draw back, and she's like, you need to remember that people can only handle so much at one time, and you've got to kind of control that, because even at the gym, I'll start talking with somebody and they'll mention something and I'll be like, oh well, and there are times sometimes where I can almost see them start to draw back. They're just like, oh, that's a lot of information. I don't even know how to process that, you know, but that's me. So, I mean, I definitely know I've found that niche, you know, I'm very passionate. And one of the biggest ways that I get to unload, if you will, on people is through my boot camp, because that thing is intensive. It's in depth, and I love every part of it, you know, and I love watching people through it make those connections. I love the light bulbs when they go on, and all the things. I love hearing like these stories, like Aldwyn share on the show, what, you know, the impact that has had on her life, and how now her food choices have completely changed. That whole way of living has completely changed for her because she went through my boot camp. I love that.
And I love the Total Truth show. Like, it's so cool. I can see how you guys are just like, yeah. And but you can have such a variety of topics, which is so cool. But I love the whole theme and the intro. It's just so powerful and fun and cool. And I just love it. I love the truth.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Irene. Really appreciate that. And look, we came together through COVID when there was a hell of a lot of lying going on. I mean, there's been lying for years by government, etc. But, you know, this is what spurred us on, is that we were both very aligned with sharing the truth of what's going on. And so every show starts with the truth about something. And here we are at 81 episodes, and you know, we're like an old married couple. Although we've never met each other in person. I sound like an old married couple because we say anything to each other. Sorry, there's loud noise behind me in Singapore here. Yeah, you know, you get to know each other very well when you do 81 episodes together, and you know, it really has been an amazing show. We love doing it, and we're very passionate about it, and had some phenomenal guests on the show. So very grateful for you too, Irene, being here with us today. And we love that people love our shows. We have often a lot of regulars come on our shows, and we get lots of amazing compliments and feedback. And I'm sure there's people that don't like the show too. And with those people, we send them off with love and wish them well to watch other podcasts and other shows that are going to light them up. And you know, that's we're all about helping people question everything, and very passionate on that topic.
I love that. I absolutely love that. People just conform. You know, I don't know if you've ever listened to The Strangest Secret. I talked about it. It's even on YouTube for free. You can listen to it. I love listening to it. And he says that, you know, the biggest problem today is people just don't think.
Oh, gosh, yes.
You know, and he says, they did a survey. They asked people, why do you go to work? And they say, well, everybody goes to work. You know, it's like they just conform.
Because they've been programmed by the school system. You know, the school system. I just recently interviewed somebody who on expert interviews with Ken. It's kind of like a side gig that I do for interviews, and she's very passionate about talking about the importance of homeschooling. And, you know, and the reasons why. And I dove into that. I loved it. I loved her topic because our school systems do nothing but teach children and teach our young to just sit down, obey, and shut up, pretty much. I mean, there's no other way to put it than to use those words. You know, and as a matter of fact, there's a book out in my living room shelves that is entitled Mass Weapons of Instruction. And I believe that to be 100% true. You are way better off homeschooling your kids because guess what? Sorry, I'm a little bit on a bandwagon here, but guess what? You are going to teach them to think. You are going to teach them how to solve problems critically, how to critically think. You are going to teach them how to make money on their own without relying on a boss. You're going to teach them all these things. That's not what school teaches you. School doesn't teach you how to build your own business, how to, you know, do these things, how to think on your own, how to become your own entrepreneur. School does not teach you how to do that. As a matter of fact, when I see people out there today that are self-taught with whatever thing they're an expert in, I applaud them, because nowadays I really think self-taught has a lot to say. A lot to say. Rather, they're self-taught, they have their own experience. They're not just regurgitating something that they learned in the school. And I like that. Sorry. I had to.
No. Oh my gosh. No, I don't even want to go there like with my kids in the school. But even when I was in school, you've heard about the bully obviously already, but also when I took horticulture and I thought, well, what am I going to do with this? And I thought, well, I could own my own flower shop. And, they said, oh, well, make sure that you learn how to type in case you have to fall back on secretarial work. That's what they told me. They didn't say, good for you. When I told people I wanted to be a doctor, right? Straight A student. Oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, honey, you should be a nurse. You could marry a doctor. You're a pretty girl. I mean, these are the things that they said to me. My teachers, the school, the institution. And this is, all things that I had to fight. It didn't even occur to me that, I could be an entrepreneur. And I mean, it did, because obviously I had those thoughts. Right? Oh, my own flower shop. I got that from Three's Company. You know how Janet bought the shop, and I was like, I don't know.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, she brings back the old school shows. I love it.
I got Suzanne Summers. I just love her, Rest in peace.
So how interesting, it's so important not to let anyone else's limiting beliefs limit what you do with your life, right? That's their point of view, and they've been conditioned by the system. And anyone who's seen the Out of Shadows documentary, which got majorly censored, all about the brainwashing in the education system and in the mainstream media and in Hollywood, and it happens every single day. In fact, every time I go to a movie now, I look out for, how are people getting conditioned with this particular movie here? How are they getting conditioned with that movie? It's very interesting now, the Australian government, as an example, $1.2 billion they're putting into fire ant spraying, and they're from helicopters, they're spraying the whole of Australia. It's absolutely insane. And they're killing cows, horses, dogs, bees. It's outrageous. And they're putting $10 million into the brainwashing campaign, into advertising to promote the fire ant spraying that's happening in Australia right now. And some people are saying, but it's a good thing. Have you ever been bitten by a fire ant? It's like, what the hell is wrong with some people? Like, friggin', just go get your booster shot. And in fact, I said that to someone the other day. I said, and she said, I've already got my booster shot. And I thought, well, of course you have. Of course you had, because you believed everything. You believed all the lies, and you probably won't live long because you've had your booster shot. So,
and that's why you're not thinking in the first place, because you took the booster shot and it's damaged your brain.
Exactly. Serious brain damage out there. But anyway, look, I send everyone off with love.
It's too horrific.
It's horrible. It is horrible. People felt absolutely coerced. They felt they had to do it for their jobs, for travel, whatever. And now they're paying the price. But if they still don't know now, with everything that's come about, with all the people that have died, with all the people that have had side effects, if they still don't know now, they still go get their booster shots. They still wear their masks. And in fact, in Singapore, lots of people wear masks, interestingly. And, it's interesting. And they obviously don't know that you can't breathe properly through them. They obviously don't know that yet. They don't know this information, you see. And this is the thing, is that, everyone's got to make the choice for themselves of what they know to be true. But if you're not questioning these things, then you will keep being shut down. You will keep being, dumbed down and shut down, and you will keep living small lives, and you will keep being people who do not make a difference in the world, right? If you see something going on out there that you're not happy about, and you're not speaking up about it or writing a book about it, then you are part of the problem. That's my belief. Okay, and we can all write books about this, and this is the kind of passion you want with whatever it is you're doing in life, my friends. And this is what Bob Proctor said: how do you find your purpose? Do what you love as much as you can. Do what you love. Do something that lights you up. And here we are. We're on fire. We are clearly in flow with what we're doing. We are on the right path. And what is that for you? What is it that lights you up? What is it that you're so passionate about that you have to get the word out about? Whether you do it through a book, whether you do it through public speaking, whether you do it through social media posts, speak up, step up. It is time. Now, on that, Irene, we really do need to wrap up the show. I know it's very late for you. So before any of us go on our high horses again, over to you, Irene. How can people work with you and connect with you?
Oh, yeah. So go to my website, get my free guide, guys. It's not going to be up there forever. It is 100% free. It's 10 easy steps to start writing your book today. So go there and grab your free guide. Follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a direct message. Happy to connect with you. And do I get to say my quote? You said I wanted you to prepare.
Absolutely. Say that quote. Let's go.
So I was doing all this research trying to find a quote, and then you said, just what do you live by? Life is short, eat dessert first. I know it's overused, but seriously, eat what you want. Because if you eat what you want and you satisfy that, you're not going to overeat. And I've always loved that. Eat dessert first. And I can't tell you how many times I actually have ate ice cream before going to dinner. So whatever. Eat dessert first.
Oh, I love that.
That's true. It really is. You got one. We get this one life. Write the book. Eat dessert. Live your life. Just like just said, just get into your purpose. Follow your heart. Do what you feel is right. And don't conform to what everyone else is telling you what to do. Only you know what's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are on the audio, who are tuning in on podcast, etc., just go here to Irene Gabelnick, or Gabelnick, however you want to say it, .com. That's IreneGabelnick.com, and also on LinkedIn. You'll find her on LinkedIn there as well. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you, Irene. Thank you so much for coming on as our guest. And now over to Ken. How can people connect with you, my friend?
All right, you guys. Well, first of all, how you can connect with me before I go into what I want to say here is you can connect with me at www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. www.masteryweightloss.com. Mastery, spelled the way it sounds. Weight, spelled the way it sounds. Loss, spelled the way it sounds. .com, connect. /connect. I don't think I need to go through the actual spelling of the letters there. I know that there are very smart people that are listening to us right now, so you can kind of figure that out. And the link to connect with me will also be in the descriptions, so you can click and be there. But now, lastly, what I want to say here is one of the ways you will find at that link, www.masteryweightloss.com/connect, is to join my boot camp. So check it out. You've heard me mention it today on today's episode, and now you're going to hear just a little bit more about it before I leave you today. So I am giving away my 3 secrets to being able to finally lose that last 20 pounds, to be able to finally conquer your battle with sugar, to finally conquer your hunger addiction, your hunger issues, to finally conquer your unhealthy food addictions. I am giving away my 3 secrets. You will walk away empowered with an empowered mindset shift. You will also walk away equipped to spot the food industry lies and avoid the common pitfalls, just as my co-host Aldwyn has been able to start doing as well. You will also be equipped to see past the deceptive marketing that these companies commonly use. You might be out there thinking you're making all the healthy choices and doing heartfeltly, really making the effort and doing the good things on the background. The scale's not moving, you're gaining the weight back, things just aren't working the way you wanted it to work. Well, that's what my boot camp empowers you to get out of that cycle. And then you exit out on the other end with a solid ground, never being moved by the industry fad diets, never being moved by the industry lies again. You will have a ground to stand on. That is my boot camp. It is 3 one-on-one sessions with me. And it's the whole thing is just a short 2.5 week span. It is powerful. It is intense. It is extensive. And it will set you free. It's not going to restrict your freedom. It's going to give you more freedom. It's going to give you your power back. So that is my boot camp. Join my boot camp right now. I don't know how long it's going to stay at this price. Right now, it's only $75. So, all right. So my favorite quote for today, I didn't look up a quote. So I'm going to use one of the ones that I usually use. And actually, I'm going to switch it up a little bit today. So check it out, guys. You cannot hope for motivation for the day. You must be intentional about it. Start your day with intention. Set those intentions. So if you want to write a book, set an intention to do it. Start your day with intention. Don't say, well, I hope I'm going to be able to write this book. Set the intention to write the book. Be intentional about it. All right, that's it.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you. And I just got another quote here from Bond Halbert. It improves your Google sniff test. He was talking about the titles around that when we're talking about the titles. And you can look on Answer the Public as well, which is another good one. See what people are Googling to get some ideas on what to write a book about. And that will definitely improve your Google sniff test. I like how you put that there, Bond. Thank you so much. Bond Halbert, expert in the house. Fantastic.
Podcasts, being a guest.
Yes. Come and be a guest on our show. Hopefully he will be on our show soon. So reach out, Bond. We'd love to chat with you. And, of course, you have all our contacts now. Now, for those who want to connect with me, then go along to linktree/Aldwyn. That's linktr.ee/Aldwyn. I have all sorts of free media resources in there. We have a free community event coming up with a whole lot of speakers, with an amazing documentary by local filmmaker Lynn Sutherland, an animal documentary talking about the ecosystem and how these poisons are affecting the not just the animals but the whole planet. And look, by the way, on the fire ant thing, there's many ways you can kill a fire ant nest without blanket spraying poison over the whole country. Now, there's other reasons and there's more propaganda at play here. Fire ants, of course. Why would you blanket spray everything and kill everything in sight when you can just target a nest and just put petrol on the nest or other natural ways and just target a fire ant nest? Why would you need to spray the whole country and poison the whole country? Now, of course, I believe there's things such as, there's other agendas such as, of course, the pushing of genetically modified foods, the controlling of the food sources and the water sources, pissing off all the farmers, etc. Right? There's a whole lot more going on, but do your own research on all of that. Come along to our event. We have an amazing community event on fire ant poisoning concerns coming up at Currumbin RSL. It's going to be the 20th of October for those on the Gold Coast. And we will be looking at live streaming it as well. It's a free event. We're doing donations for Save the Bees Australia. It's going to be one of our animal action events. This will be 18 years now doing animal action events. And very excited about all the people going to be coming along. We can fit 300 in the room and tickets are already going quick. So I recommend going there, just lock in your ticket. It's free to get a ticket and you can make a donation if you choose to from there. And also we have the Global Good News Challenge happening every month, sharing gratitude and good news. That's another great way you can lift your energy and lift the energy on the planet and help to decrease depression and suicide rates. Because one thing's for sure, there's always going to be crap going on in the world, and it's about what we choose to focus on will grow. So let's look at, okay, there's shit going on in the world. Let's look at how we can bring some positive to it, take some positive action towards that. Get informed so you can make informed choices, because there's now people in Australia, if they don't let these fire ant sprayers onto their property, they're being threatened fines of $15,000, right? There's many things you can do to actually not let them on your property, as if you have a reasonable excuse. And we have lots of info. There's a Stop Fire Ant, Toxic Fire Ant program. There's a Facebook group there. You can get more info on that. I put info on my Facebook. So there's lots of info out there to empower you. You can have kites flying over your property to stop the helicopters coming over. There's lots of things you can do. Okay, so get informed, take some positive action. Otherwise, don't whinge if your animals die and if suddenly your organic crops are no longer organic because they've got toxic spray all over them. Okay, and they need to please explain who's making money from this toxic spray in the government. Who let this through? Where was the community consultation? Again, it hasn't been tested. It's like the COVID jab. It wasn't tested properly and it got rolled out everywhere, and hence all the side effects. Well, now we're seeing the side effects of the planet poisoning in Australia from this toxic fire ant eradication program. It's outrageous. We need to speak up. We need to step up about it. Now, my quote for the day, I've actually got a few quotes for you. Around writing. Now, this one's from Octavia E. Butler. You don't start out writing good stuff. You start out writing crap and thinking it's good stuff, and then gradually you get better at it. Another one by Stephen Pressfield. Start before you're ready. And my final one is by Jodie Picoult. You can always edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. Okay.
Yes. I will also add to that. So something my coach Francine is very passionate about. So, just get out there and do it. Even if you have to do it messy, then do it messy. Just do it. All right, there you go.
Can I add one more by Jack Canfield?
Yeah.
And you'll
Yes.
love this, Aldwyn. The best time to start promoting your book is yesterday.
Hey, there you go.
People wait till they're published, and that is all you need is the book mock-up and just start promote. Get in the media.
Yes, do the pre-sales before the book is out. Great tip there. Thank you for that.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. Yes, that is awesome. And get along to Irene Gabelnick's website so you can get your 10 easy steps to start writing your book today. That's fantastic. And also on my website on aaexposed.com, which is in my link tree, you will also see in there you can get I've got top 5 tips to gain TV exposure as well is my offer there as well. So hop on there and grab yourself a copy of that as well. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. It looks just like that, Aldwyn Altuney Media Queen TV. We've had 265,000 views now of 1,300 videos. And this is the importance of being consistent, and that's even with shadow banning and strikes on YouTube because of going against community standards with some of this content, right? Even with that, there's been amazing reach on that channel. So check out some of the videos. We've got some great comedies there and some really cool stuff. So check it out over there. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined us live today. Let us know what you thought of this show in the comments on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, all the other places, wherever you're tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us today. Any final words, Irene or Ken?
No.
I just want to say thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, and I absolutely wonderful. Love your passion, love the show, and just really honored to be here.
We are honored to have you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for staying up so late. We really appreciate it. We went a little bit over time. Thank you for hanging in with us. And now we'll let you get some sleep. So much love to everyone, and stay awesome and keep living your love. And we'll see you again very soon on another amazing Total Quiz Show episode. Bye for now. Bye.